Welcome to Inspiration Inc. We have a very special guest with us who is actually the torch bearer of Make in India, Innovate in India and Go Global. I have Mr. Mrvcsehgal with me of Samvardhana Motherson. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
It's an honor to have you on this show.
Thank you.
Because this show, I mean, you know, I feel so proud speaking to you that you actually founded a company which was born before I was born. So, to start with. And I mean, before we started the interview, I was just looking at the amount of innovation that is going on here. So, we'll talk about it. But, but if you were to tell me that moment of inspiration, when you started this journey, what was that moment? What thought process went behind the name Motherson? And also the initial days of your journey, if you can tell us about that.
You know, my father had given this suggestion that it should be a movie, it should be a company called Motherson, because my mother and me were partners. We started somewhere around in 1975.
Yeah.
My grandfathers, Mrvcsehgal and all these, they're all jewelers. You know, my mother's side, everybody's a jeweler. My father's side, everybody was in the film lines. So I was the only guy who was coming into trading and, how do you say, industry per se. We started working when I was 17, 18, so I know I'm started the company way before, but I'm not so old. I'm just 62 at the moment. So, but we started as a trading company, and we were very lucky that we were at the right place at the right time. In 77, we actually started with manufacturing of wire. So it was just wire for house wiring and things like that. So it was a very small thing we started here in Noida. In 1977, we set up the plant. Things were not so great in industry at that time. Demand was very, very distant. They had 600 wire companies in Delhi alone. So, you know, the competition was very heavy. But then when Maruti came, everything changed. I think Motherson symbolizes trust. So when you have a name like that, you tend to start moving in that direction. That, you know, it is all about trust.
Correct.
The way a mother looks after their children, I think there is nobody in the world that can even match that.
So Maruti was the turning point.
Absolutely. Maruti came in. We set up a small this thing. We went to them. They make the wiring harness. And we saw that and we said, okay, you know, the wire can supply the wiring harness. So we got interested. And it all started because of a coupler. The coupler was given to me, and overnight we made the mold for that. And next day I gave and showed the mold and the part to them. Maruti was really happy with that. I got the drawings. I came to know my collaborator's name. And I was in Japan the next week. And I was talking to the collaborator. Of course, he threw me out of the office, but that's okay.
Well, why did that? Why did he do that?
Oh, because he had had bad experiences in India. So he said, here comes a young fellow who wants a joint venture. But very proud to say that they have been with us right from the beginning.
Correct.
Now we are in the 35th year with Maruti.
Correct.
With Sumitomo, sorry.
Sumitomo.
So it was first time they threw us out, but then after that they took us into their hearts.
What was going on in your mind when he sort of shooed you away that, you know, we can't do business with you guys? So what was playing in your mind at that point?
That actually happens because, you know, people have different experiences. I mean, he had already had 4 very bad experiences in India. So I told him, you know, at the end of it, before I was leaving, I told him, you know, his name was Mr. Yamaguchi, so I told him, Yamaguchi-san, even the 5 fingers on your hand are not the same. You're comparing 5 people.
Correct.
So that, I think, kind of got him. Then he said, okay, fine. What I'll do is I'll come to India. I want to see what you're doing. So then he came within 2 months or something like that. He saw the plant. He was very happy with what he saw. It was a very small plant, but he was very happy. He also went and met 2 or 3 other companies. But then there was something about the passion in which we were, what we were trying to do, and also a little bit of the Japanese connection that we had before.
Correct.
That kind of sort of gave him the chance, okay, fine, let's trust this guy.
Right.
So that was a very, very profitable trust for Sumitomo.
I'm sure, I'm sure. But so when you started off, you never thought that you would be predominantly in the automotive space when you started, because you started with wiring and then it just happened. Can we say that? Or
No, in fact, I was always very passionate about cars. I just love cars. Uh, when we got into this business, we could actually see that we are talking to the latest of the car makers, the new parts coming. We were seeing cars that people would see 2 years, 1.5 years, 2 years later. So
right.
it was very
That was
exciting.
exciting enough.
So for me, I was 22, 23 years old at that time. Whoa, cars are always something which is exciting for the youngster.
And India never had that kind of variety those days.
Yeah. So that allowed us to actually catch the imagination. Then Maruti did such a fantastic job, because what Maruti did was not only were they passionate about what they were doing, but that entire thing, the whole supplier community, everybody together, very, very inspiring, very, very inspiring. So you were automatically inspiring each other and going really do the way. And they had huge demand.
Yeah, that's what. I mean, I was about to say that it practically changed the Indian automotive industry.
Absolutely.
So, but did you expect that kind of response to Maruti? Because we had two behemoths, the brands, in terms of Premier, Padmini and Ambassador. That's what everybody grew up watching. So did you expect that kind of response to Maruti?
I think initially everybody has their doubts and all that, but I, for one, never had doubts, because I had already been to Japan before and was seeing the cars and the way they were making, the passion that they had to make the cars. So I was never really in doubt. In fact, I'm probably one of the most infamous people that I was always positive. So I was always ahead of the curve.
Correct.
The car maker said, this is the thing. I would go 2 years ahead of them and set up a new plant over there. So things like Toyota had closed the plant here in Noida and gone to Bangalore. Before the Toyota started this thing also, we had already bought the land and we were making our factory there.
Right.
We didn't have the order, but we still went ahead.
You still went ahead. So probably you could foresee the way Indian auto industry was moving.
Yeah, I think if you have a look at how the foreign cars that were being sold, and it had 250, 300% duty and all that, and the car's quality that was coming out from Maruti and the other ones that were there was allowing them to actually test and feel what real good quality of a car is.
Correct.
That's something which caught the imagination of a lot of people. So if you see the youngsters and you see the people at that time, they were buying cars. I mean, they had booking for 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah, they were waiting.
So we originally had to start with 20,000 car sets per year. That was the capacity of my wiring harness plant. And in 2 years, they had already told us, hey, it's going to be 100,000, 5 times in 2 years. It was unheard of.
Correct.
And now, of course, we are now talking almost 4 million cars.
Yeah, that's true. So from those initial days, can you share one or two anecdotes when probably you had to actually think that, okay, fine, what have I got into, or how do I go about this? Because like you said, everybody on your father's side was in movies business and your mother's side was jewelry business. So you were actually on an uncharted territory at that point.
Absolutely, but I can tell you umpteen stories over there. But I think the basic thing which really caught my imagination is that, do you know that India is the second largest road network in the world? It's bigger than China. So the only one we come close to is USA. Right? So in such a scenario, people's knowledge of cars, India, was very, very low. They kept saying, everybody whom you talk to would keep telling you, yeah, road kahan hai? Road kahan banayenge? Gadi chalegi kahan? That kind of thing. So the cities were sort of jammed up, yes, but you go out, my God, the beautiful roads in India. So I think that whole thought process at that time to try and figure out what is the kind of roads that we have. Now, of course, everything is available on the net.
Yeah.
But the ability to catch that and to be part of something which is much bigger than you. And Maruti always gave you that opportunity. So for us, it was there. After wire, we got into polymer because we had to make the connectors. So the machine, the volumes are very small. So then we started making other plastic parts, you know.
Okay.
So that's how we got into that. And from there we got into interiors. From the interiors we got into exteriors. So one thing led to another. So it was always very exciting times. And what next was always a great
So can we call you Destiny's child? It was bound to happen.
absolutely. I think there is a Mahaprabhu Kripa, is what I
So
say.
you are a very spiritual person anyway. So
absolutely.
you follow your morning prayer routine and
Absolutely, absolutely. My mother never gave me a cup of tea also till we had gone to the temple. So we have a small temple in the house. So we maintain that. We still don't have bed teas. We go first there, and after that we can do what we want.
right. You have temples in all your plants also, I'm told.
Yeah, every plant has to have that. But it's good because what it does is it instills some kind of a mental discipline in people who are coming in. You see a temple, you cool down.
Right. You know, I actually wanted to ask you this question before we move on, that since you have been dealing with so many MNCs, global giants, especially in automotive space and even otherwise, and you have been one of the earliest, I mean, we talk now about Make in India and all. You actually started it long before anybody could even realize that there can be something like Make in India. So all this exposure to foreign cultures and the way they do business, did it never affect you because you followed your own Indian spiritual way of doing business, and, you know, the charity part of it and sharing your wealth and everything?
Yeah, I think basically, industry is a great way to really understand what India is. India, as we know it, is only 67 years old or 70 years old or something like that. 563 countries became India.
Correct.
So what another 40 countries? It's a kid's play. So if you're in India, you're dealing with so many diverse entities, people, religion, countries. They're totally different. In India, they said that, you stand at a point, you go 100 kilometers in any direction, the language, the food, and the clothes will change.
Right.
So in such a wonderful country, we discovered that way back. And then we said, if we are good here, why can't I be good in Germany, or why can't I be good in Ireland or something?
After your first acquisition, you sort of went on an acquisition spree. Even when the global automotive market was going through downturn, I think you didn't stop. So where did that conviction come from? Because I think total what, you did 20 plus acquisitions?
21.
21, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, no more.
yeah, of course. So how did you manage to digest all of it?
So I think there are a series of things that we did. In 1993 we became public. At that time, when we became public, our total turnover was about 14 and a half crores. I resigned as the managing director of Motherson Sumi and became the vice chairman. My son jokingly calls it the chairman of vices. I'm joking, but I became the vice chairman. My father was the chairman. And we had a professional who came in and became the CEO of the company. I think that one decision is a major turning point in Motherson. The ability for the family to let go and allow the professionals to then run the company. Correct. And the shareholders then became really, I think that's the turning point, we actually became entrepreneurs. We could then, multiple things could be done, and you would get a good professional to run it. I always tell my this thing that if there is a success thing in Motherson, it's because of the team. And the team has always been led by the professionals, not by the family.
Set and get that purchase decision going.
Welcome back after the break. हमारे साथ सहगल साहब हैं. Sir, thank you so much for staying with us. Now, so actually while speaking to you, I realized that probably you are a very positive person, and you don't take things or challenges in a very negative way. But the journey is never that easy as you are making it sound. So if you can tell us about that.
Yeah, I think probably related to your blood, and I'm B positive, so.
So am I.
So you got to be positive in everything. I think basically what we have seen in the last 43, 44 years is that there are going to be huge challenges. There are going to be things, people are going to come up with ways and ideas and things which really won't make sense. But you have to actually find a way how to go through that. So when we made the vision of our group, somewhere around 97, we actually made it very simple, clear, so that people could understand, all the people working in Motherson could understand it. We have not changed even a comma in that. It is to be a globally preferred solution provider.
Yeah.
That's it. And every annual report of ours you can take up, the vision is very clear. It says to be a globally preferred solution provider. But honestly, that's what life is all about. I mean, every day you have a challenge. You can call it a challenge, you can call it a problem, but you've got to find the solution.
Correct.
So in that sense, to be negative doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
Because then you're giving up. Opportunity, another name of that is actually a problem or a challenge. So we've learnt the hard way or the easy way is look at life as a challenge and then find the opportunity. We were only looking for that one reason. A lot of people ask us, boss, what did you do right and the old guys didn't do right? I said, well, I'm not thinking them that way, you know. I don't want to go wrong.
Correct.
For me, money is precious, and hence I would like to do what is right for that company.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a way of this thing. Time teaches you that, but also there are great gurus that have come from Japan, from India, from different parts of the world, who in their own way come and teach you. So if you are lucky, you will find great people coming and teaching you that. And all
Can
you
you
have to
name
do
a
is,
few of them who inspired you the most or influenced you the most?
there are people whom you nobody would know, but I would say Mr. Oda, Mr. Yamaguchi, the one that I told you about before. There is some great friends of mine. One gentleman who taught me right from the beginning when I was in trading days, Mr. Hiraoka, he was there. So I was working with the Japanese a lot, so most of them are from there. Currently, the real mentor in the group is Mr. Morimoto. He's a great guy. He was ex-Sumitomo. Then after he retired from there, we brought him into our this thing. He teaches us ways and means and things which are unbelievable. Just simple things, but he will tell you. He says, in India you have the fourth largest train network in the world. And you have single engines pulling 100 bogies. But in Japan, he says, we have 14 bogies, 14 engines. So that was the reference he was giving for our divisions. That in the division, every division should have an engine.
You know, actually, while our walk down this path, I was quite, I'm feeling very proud that, here is one company, and I'm speaking to you, who's catering to, the mass market and the mass products, and on the other hand, also catering to some of the most coveted, I would say, brands globally, be it Mercedes or BMW, and we can see a host of them. So how do you manage this? How do you innovate products on such a large scale?
So I think the secret lies in the fact that each unit, each company is focused on particular customer. Right. So the ability to catch the innovation there, these are companies that are going to go bankrupt. So one thing is to open green fields and things like that, but also it's very important to give a second chance to certain customers, certain companies, certain products, certain thinking. When you do that, those people also appreciate what you're doing. So in the history of Motherson, we have never closed a plant. We have never moved a plant. We keep the plant in that country, same people.
Some of the largest companies actually do that. You know, the first solution they come up with, let's close the plant or move the plant
shift it to something cheaper. No, we don't do that. We don't do that. The ability to think differently is what is important. We have about, with God's grace, about 140,000 people working in our group. So that's a lot of ideas and a lot of
ideas,
innovations and a lot of patents.
Yeah, exactly. Actually that was my next question, because I was looking at your product lineup. So how many patents you have, and how many you would have?
I don't count, but it probably be about 1,800 or so plus, something like that.
Can I safely say that there will be no car in India which will not have some part coming from your plant in it?
So, aapke muh mein ghee shakar, thank you. Definitely, we are not attached to any one particular customer. We have a way of de-risking ourselves. We have a clear policy which says 3CX15. My customers know it, which means no car company, no component, no country more than 15% of our turnover. And I think the next 5-year plan that we will come in 2020 will go to 3CX10. So the idea is contribute everyone, everywhere, come up with your core this thing, and don't run after scale and all that. These are all wonderful things in colleges which they teach you, but of no relevance today.
That's interesting. Can you share your most challenging moment with me? When you felt that, okay, now this is looking serious, and this is, it's very important to know, that how you deal with it.
I have gone through so many of them, you can't imagine. I think the first was to, when we went public, very bad time at that time, and even a lot of companies.
You actually went public during that whole Harshad Mehta turmoil.
Yes. And we were, I think we were oversubscribed 1.7 times or something like that. And that also, they said, Chand, you don't know what you have achieved. So I think a lot of challenges, challenging times come, things like that happen. But at the end of it, you got to keep your patience and you will overcome it. Lehman crisis. We bought the company on the 6th of March, 2009. And the US market started to rise on the 9th of March. So I'm sure I was not the reason why it started going up. But I think at the end of the day, challenges are fantastic things. You live through, at that time you're going through hell. But it is important that you go through that, because aag mein jaaki to sona phir nikarta na.
True, very true, very true. That's
so all the people go through that and all that. I tend to be back a bit, but my teams go through really tough times.
Where do you get your, even now, when do you get your inspiration from, and where?
Bhagavad Gita, that's it. 700 verses, each one of them is amazing.
If you have to give one message to today's upcoming generation or entrepreneurs, and the reason I'm asking this is, because today's generation has a lot of aspirations, and India is an aspiring country. We are the most young country in the world.
The one thing which stands out for all the people who want to do, don't force things. People force it. No, it has to happen. Sometimes things happen which are not good for you, so they won't happen. So I think the sense comes from Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna tells full effort is full victory. The full effort itself is full victory. You don't need to get an award for it for you to know that. I think full effort, full victory is, don't shy away from making the effort, go for it, but don't expect that it has to happen for you.
One last question, what is the high point of your life? Something which really made you happy from inside?
I think I give the credit of that to my mother. How she connected me to my spiritual master, I think that is the high point of my life. Faith, loyalty, hard work. These are three very important things. If you don't have faith, your loyalty and your hard work has no meaning. So faith is a very cornerstone of this thing. It doesn't matter what you believe in. That's your personal choice, things like that. But I think my mother connected me to my boss, so that's a big thing.
Very nice. Thank you so much, sir. It's been really inspirational having you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.